Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm David, and I'm saddened to make this video because a lot of people tend to not realize what's going on in the market and think that the RX 9700 XT is going to stay the same price as MSRP. And just because people were able to buy it initially at that MSRP, that doesn't mean anything. There's reasons for that why AMD has done that. I work in the marketing department of a large company. I'm not going to disclose the company's name here for obvious reasons, but we have seen this before. It happened dozens of times just since 2010 that launch prices were totally different at either AMD or Nvidia, and then they went up afterwards, nearly immediately afterwards. They never go down ever. They only go up, and there is reasons for that. If they go down, that has to be like a massive shortage, and later on they lower the price. That's a whole different story. Let's not go into that. At the end of the video, I'm gonna explain the viewpoint of mine that I knew 2 weeks ago. So stay tuned, and let's start going with well-renowned YouTubers, and later on some world-renowned tech magazines, which generally never fail to disappoint or deliver real news, not fake news. So let's get started.
The unfortunate reality is that both AMD and Nvidia have recognized that artificial scarcity does create higher prices and ultimately better margins. When Nvidia can sell every AI chip they produce to data centers at premium prices, manufacturing capacity will naturally be allocated away from gaming products. Similarly, when AMD can sell limited quantities of cards at MSRP to generate positive reviews, then sell the bulk of their stock at higher prices, they maximize their profits while still maintaining the illusion of consumer friendliness.
Exactly. Selling the initial run at a lower price just so all of the news come out positive, and that's gonna create demand. Exactly what I was saying earlier, and it's happening already.
So, what's the verdict after seeing the actual launch play out? Is either company actually offering good value with these new cards? Well, based on what we've seen in the past few weeks, I'd say the situation is even worse than what we anticipated. If you were one of the lucky few who managed to snag an RX 9070 XT at or near its $599 MSRP in those first few hours, then congratulations. You got decent value. But for everyone else looking at these cards today, you're facing prices that are already $60 to $100 above MSRP, which
yes, and that's $60 to $100 literally a few days in. So that every time this happened to, whether it's Nvidia, whether it's AMD, it didn't stay at $60 to $100. It just kept going. Just look at history. It was never just staying at that initial price hike. It was always more hikes coming. So let's keep watching.
Substantially erodes AMD's whole value proposition. At $650 to $700, the 9070 XT is suddenly much closer to the $749 RTX 5070 Ti.
But don't forget it, it's a couple of days after they ran out of stock. And because they are creating also this scarcity that there is not enough cards, that's gonna also push the third-party vendors and the board partners that they can make prices higher. It's called free trade. It's called capitalism. It's gonna happen. Don't be dumb.
Which offers better ray tracing, DLSS4, which is more widely adopted, and superior content creator features too. Now, obviously there's MSRP pricing, but in a saturated market with crazy pricing, it's difficult to justify the slightly cheaper one for less features.
That's true, but okay, so also I gotta point out that we are talking about MSRP. It's never gonna be MSRP. It's always up to board partners and third-party dealers. So it goes through multiple things: the distributor, the third-party dealer, the board partner. It's a multi-level who is pricing this product at a what price, and down the line, down the whole production and vendors and sales chain, it's gonna end up a totally different price from where it started or what the recommended MSRP is. It's never going to be the recommended MSRP. People who believe that because they bought it at MSRP from AMD direct or from those few sites and board partners who were forced to sell at MSRP by AMD just so they can get a good PR, that's not reality and it's not gonna stay. So let's keep watching.
What's particularly disappointing is how blatant this limited MSRP availability strategy has actually become, especially after AMD spent months heavily advertising these reasonable prices as a key selling point for RDNA 4. Their entire marketing campaign leading up to launch emphasized affordability and value, with prominent banner ads claiming that we are for gamers. They repeatedly hammered home the whole message that RDNA 4 would bring high performance gaming to the masses at reasonable price points.
And I just want to point out that all of these videos are the past 10 to 12 hours of me filming this. So it's these are recent news, not a week ago, month ago. These are literally today and yesterday.
And sadly, yeah, it happened, but then, well, it didn't. Instead, what they've delivered is merely the illusion of value, actually providing it to only a small fraction of buyers who happen to be refreshing store pages at the exact moment of launch. Or worse, scalpers who manage to buy it immediately before any actual person.
And don't forget about the scalpers, that's going to mess up prices right now.
This deliberate misdirection feels especially manipulative, given how central the pricing narrative was to their pre-launch marketing. What I'm trying to say is,
anybody who couldn't see this manipulative, predatory action, they are an ostrich sticking their head into sand. That's all I gotta say.
Kind of made their mistake here. They've made their bed and now they've got to lie in it.
That price was
for those of you who missed the launch window and are still considering an upgrade, my advice in all honesty would be this. Set realistic expectations about pricing.
Yep.
The RX 9070 XT at $650 to $700 is a very different value proposition than at $599.
And that's where we are starting at. The further videos we are going to look at and news are going to paint a way grimmer picture than this guy.
So take a breath, reassess whether this card still represents good value at current market pricing, and consider whether the RTX 5070 or 5070 Ti might actually be better options when factoring in the complete package of performance, features, and software support. And I never thought I'd be saying that about the RTX 5070 because, well, I already mentioned how bad that was in terms of value. But I guess in relative terms compared to AMD, it definitely changes things up a little bit. If you're not in a rush, it might be worth waiting a few weeks to see if AMD can improve the stock situation at proper MSRP pricing. We've seen with previous launches that prices sometimes improve after the initial launch frenzy dies down. Though, based on what retailers have said about their inventory allocation instructions,
doesn't look good.
I wouldn't count on a significant improvement this time around, and it may actually take that little bit longer.
Let's look at the next video.
What we will
Alright, so now we are looking at Vex. Again, I haven't watched the video, so I may have to scroll through it a little.
The 9070 XT just came out, and they do look pretty damn good according to the benchmarks that I've seen. We're going to Micro Center, and it opens at about 9 o'clock in the morning. It's a little bit of a drive. I'm going to go pick up my buddy Cameron. He's trying to get one too. All right, let's go.
Got something for you. Now I just grabbed a bag.
Skibbity. The 6700. See if they restock. And now seeing that all of these MSRP cards will not be going for 600 anymore, and that this was only for the launch of the cards is extremely disappointing. And I don't really know how else to put it, but this isn't gonna get that much better. This might be because of tariffs or something, I'm not sure. And apparently AMD is working hard with retailers and partners to
in those situations in my previous comments that a lot of people didn't believe in. But again, let's back it up a little.
Because they blew their load day one.
Well, I don't know. You guys... Sure. And apparently AMD is working hard with retailers and partners to actually sell these cards at MSRP. We don't know if that's PR speak. Is this actually true? We're gonna have to wait and see.
That's PR
just
speak,
weird
just
right
like
now. I'll probably make a follow-up on this. Just disappointing.
Anyway, the prices are going up and they are not the same anymore. Let's check the next person. So we are looking at very reputable reviewers here. We're looking at Gamer Meld. Oh my god, Gamer Meld. The god. Okay.
.org/. Today, did AMD lie about their prices? Nvidia is finally set to release a decently priced GPU, and even more Nvidia GPUs are affected. The company is losing it. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. But first, while watching videos on tech is awesome, if you're anything like me, it's just not enough. You want to actually learn how it all works.
Okay,
and my recommendation has
I'm not making any money off
to
this.
buy easier than ever. And to make things even get 20% off, they are sold out most places at this point.
Okay,
they didn't sell out instantly like Nvidia. Well, unfortunately, you may not be able to get them at MSRP in the future. Now, AMD does make a statement on this, but there's multiple things that I really need to go over.
Everybody makes a statement on everything. They are trying to save skin.
This tweet by Hardware Unboxed. As you can see, it says,
oh, there we go. Hardware Unboxed. Very reliable. Again, we are just watching one after another, after another, after another reliable source.
Our understanding is that retailers have been buying and stockpiling RDNA 4 cards since January at a price much higher than $550/$600 US. Now, if you follow this channel, you know I went over a leak claiming that AMD originally planned a much higher price, but AMD themselves claim that, yeah, it just isn't true. Well, it's looking like it may in fact be true. You can see here that the expectation was then a rebate from AMD to enable prices near the MSRP once the price was announced. He then goes on to state, but of course these rebates are selective and only apply to limited quantities of some models. And he gives this example. It says, if the MSRP is, let's say, $100 lower than the lowest price retailers pay to stockpile cards, why doesn't the rebate apply to all cards instead of a limited quantity? This would mean minus $100 on the MSRP models, but also minus $100 on the non-MSRP models, keeping overall prices down. But it seems pretty obvious that has not happened. You can see it says that clearly hasn't happened because the next up model above MSRP in the line is 20% plus over that MSRP.
Because then they will just stop.
Things are looking pretty odd with AMD.
What's going to happen if they try to control board partners too much is what happened to EVGA. They will quit.
And then we got this story. As you can see,
and nobody wants a board partner to quit. It's like losing a distributor. Yeah.
Here, this claims Radeon RX 9070 MSRP will go up. And this originally comes from, well, before I get to that, it says the suggested retail price AMD announced last month isn't expected to be honored by board partners for too long. This one originally comes from a Swedish retail chain, Net.se, and they actually state this. It says, we have now learned how the recommended prices, also known as MSRP prices, work for the launch of the AMD Radeon RX 9070 and 9070 XT. We are not allowed to say exact prices ahead of the release, but simply put, they will apply to a limited number of cards. And then the big part here, it says the prices only apply to the first shipment of each model. So first we have this statement, which really makes this right here seem very true. Then we have this one that says the prices only apply to the first shipment of each model. And they go on to state that for Sapphire and Asus, it will be just as usual. We have only received one shipment and you can buy it until it runs out. But with Power Color, it will be different. It says our second shipment from Power Color is already waiting and we cannot offer it at MSRP prices. And they're not talking about this shipment just as non-MSRP cards. It says this means that we will first sell the Reaper models at MSRP prices and the stock balance will tick down as usual until the first shipment is sold out. Then, with a certain delay, the stock will be replenished with new cards and we will then release the Reaper cards for order again, although not at MSRP prices. So they are specifically stating that they're talking about these exact same Reaper cards, MSRP models, that will then go on sale for not MSRP prices. And this comes from, like I said, Net.se. And you can see right here, I mean, this is like a blog almost. I mean, this is directly from them about the RX 9000 cards. So it absolutely seems, obviously if anyone would know, it would be a retailer other than AMD, of course, but it doesn't stop there because also Overclockers UK also stated, quote, we literally have around 2,000 units from Sapphire. are in stock, 1,000 from Power Color and 1,000 from ASRock. I feel stock will be fine for a few days. MSRP is capped, quantity of a few hundred. So prices will jump once those are sold through. So that makes it sound like, yeah, prices are going to go up once those are sold through. They could just be referring to the ones that aren't MSRP, but still, this also once again proves that whole
all of
they
these are the best
didn't
or
give them to
a
only a few
ago.
hundred of them are they able to sell at MSRP.
Okay, now let's look at Tech Yes City.
Welcome back to Tech Yes City. Now, the biggest controversy surrounding the RX 9070 XT launch is, in my opinion, these MSRP prices, where according to videocards.net, they were speaking to a retailer in Sweden, and they're saying that the first wave of graphics cards that are at MSRP prices are not going to be these prices in the second wave, and they've already confirmed that. And then it gets a little bit weird, because basically what they're saying is AMD have subsidized these cards and given the board partners a rebate, which will bring the prices down to MSRP. But after that first...
So practically they tied the hands of board partners and they had to sell at a certain price. So it was a marketing trick. It was never meant to be at the current MSRP. We have seen AMD do some tricky business before. This is no different from that, to be honest. We have seen this before, nearly exactly the same situations.
First wave of cards is all sold out, that rebate then disappears, and our prices are then going to go up on these cards, even the MSRP models, to essentially $650 plus. This is basically the...
Yeah, that's MSRP. And again, $650 plus MSRP. Nobody's gonna follow MSRP. Board partners never follow MSRP. They're always $100 to $200 more expensive. The cheapest I can imagine maybe $70 more expensive. So that's $650 plus 70. Add that to it, and that's before taxes. Okay, so you also have to calculate taxes in. So at that point we are $730 plus tax. So add another $7. Depends on what country or where you live. Add another $70 to $100 to it. You're at the cheap end. You are at $800 to $900.
Word on the street right now, which does kind of make sense if we compare the 9070 XT pricing itself to the 9070 non-XT, and that's only a $50 difference. Usually we expect $100.
Yeah, they probably want to make that gap bigger. So I can see that maybe the board partners themselves will not have the non-XT version as high, because they want to be able to sell out of both. So, and if people cannot afford the XT, they still want to be able to sell the smaller brother of that video card. So let's keep going.
A difference in this scenario with the bigger card versus the smaller card, though the biggest counter to this is that Frank Azure has gone on Twitter and basically said these MSRP prices are exactly that, $599 and also $549, and you will see that in the future.
So I'm just looking at the video because I haven't really watched this whole video yet, so I'm doing this on the fly
as well. This isn't a one and done type of thing, so it looks like we're hearing one thing from retailers and then another thing from AMD themselves. And so here's where only time will tell. We can come back and revisit this situation in a couple of weeks, but I think with this, at least for now, AMD does have the benefit of the doubt. They have provided some cards here at MSRP where people could actually buy them, and so the experiences overall are generally, and the day one reactions are overall a lot more positive than the RTX 5000 series, for example. However, one thing that we can see from this launch is that there is a severe undersupply for certain price levels, and that is the person wanting to spend $500 to $1,000 on a GPU. There's just simply not enough stock at the performance for the price threshold that people are willing to pay. In other words, if one of these cards comes in at close to MSRP, it's going to sell out pretty quickly because there's just a massive over demand at these prices.
Yeah, and if it sells out that close to MSRP, it's not up to AMD anymore of how much a card is going to go for. So welcome to capitalism, welcome to free trade again. If they sell out that fast, everybody's going to raise prices because it's called supply and demand. If there is too much supply, if there is and there is not enough demand, they are going to lower prices. If there is a lot of demand and not enough supply, guess what's going to happen? So prices are just going to skyrocket. And as of right now, there is no supply and a lot of demand. on top of the news that MSRP is not going to stay the same. And again, don't forget taxes on top of that.
And an undersupply for these given prices. So it makes it so that we know what the story is. I'm going to be making more of a dedicated video on this undersupply over demand situation. It's different to what we're talking about here today with launch day. But what I wanted to say is a lot of the over demand from Nvidia customers this time around have definitely come to the party with the RX 9070 XT launch, as well as the RX 9070,
but Australian prices right now seem to reflect pretty much the US prices to what will happen. So, but we'll talk about that in another video.
The performance
or later in this video, actually. I can research that very fast and add it to it.
Is actually really good for the price. And it's not just that too, AMD's definitely picked things up when it comes to efficiency this time around, and also their ray tracing performance isn't half bad.
Okay,
so in terms of the actual card and the appeal itself, they've done a very good job. Sure, there's still some ways away in terms of upscaling with FSR4 versus DLSS4, but ultimately if you just want to play games at a pretty solid level and you don't want to be hesitate to get one of these cards. Me personally, I've been out of luck here in Japan for any is basically, yeah, an over demand. Anyhow, guys, look forward to reading your comment.
Anyway, so he said you can watch his whole video again, just like the last person's video. Obviously, in Japan, it's not even available yet, and I don't know how much longer they are going to have shortages there, because that's what's going on. They have a shortage right now. Let's jump to the next video. All right, now we are looking at UFD Tech, just to mention someone ultra famous here
from AMD. And I hope you were able to pick up an RX 9000 series GPU yesterday, because if you were not able to, with the launch, you're going to have a bad time moving forward. So Dr. Lisa Su posting this picture of her holding various different GPUs that were definitely in stock at various places. I was at the hospital, as I mentioned, and I was still able to pick up a 9070 and a 9070 XT 20 minutes after launch, which is way different than it was with Nvidia. I forgot that it was rolling over to 9 o'clock, and I only looked at my phone at 9:20, went on to Newegg, picked up a couple cards, Bob's your uncle, and we're going to have them for review moving forward. But even though I got them at a good price, turns out that's not going to be happening anymore, with many retailers coming out and confirming that AMD's MSRP is dead. It's over. It was yesterday only. It was a limited MSRP run for the first shipment of each model. So the MSRP cards of $549.
I mean, here's what I gotta say. I gotta be honest about this. It's still less of a shit show than what Nvidia has achieved with melting and burning video cards, with messing ROPs on their video cards, with the immense crazy pricing, with limiting how many cards they are releasing to gamers versus to AI developers. The list just goes on. To advertise that the 9070 is as strong as what was that, a 4090, I think they said. Absolutely garbage. Anyway, keep watching.
And $599 are done. A lot of
this is not as bad, but it's bad in the sense that MSRP with AMD is dead.
Third-party cards were higher, but it apparently looks like they might even get higher than that. And their second shipment of Power Color already came in, and so the prices on things like the Reaper model were higher prices to begin with. And the MSRP amount was capped at a few hundred, so prices are going to increase on all of the cards that were MSRP. The ones that you could get today, who knows how much that's going to affect anything that was slightly above MSRP, but it just looks like it was a celebration of one day. They did slightly better than Nvidia. They gave us one moment, one opportunity to go to the store and grab them,
because
and now it's
right now even are still posting in comments to me like I'm a liar, I don't know what I'm talking about, and that's exactly what AMD wanted to achieve. That's called a good marketing department, that's called a good PR, and you guys just dumb fell for it. That's all I can say.
It's just everybody who wants them later. Too bad you weren't ordering.
Good for AMD, by the way.
As soon as they opened. I personally did not get a $600 MSRP version of the 9070 XT. I didn't want one. I wanted one of the different looking 9070 XTs, so that's the one I picked up. I think it was about $100 more. That's what I decided to pick up ahead of time. So I wasn't bummed when I didn't get the MSRP version, but I did get an MSRP version of the 9070. So if you weren't there getting the GPUs, you're going to pay a higher price moving forward. And I'm going to move forward with a comment from yesterday's episode of Hot News. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of comments. It's an RX 9070 XT at launch at MSRP as well. Wow, what a feeling. I'm not being scalped.
Yeah, this happened to people, as everybody so far said it, but it's gonna be over. And actually, it is over right now. So let's now very fast check some of the news sources. Tech Radar, one of the world's most reliable tech news magazines, online news magazines. Bad news, PC gamers. It seems AMD's aggressively low price for its Radeon RX 9070 GPU will only be for a limited time. Okay. Anyway, you guys can read into it. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but again, this is a very trusted news magazine, a tech news magazine that would never display anything unless they have solid proof. Same thing with videocards.com or videocards.net, depending on where you are watching it, reading it from rather. These two are world-renowned, trusted news magazines, and keep that in mind. Okay. And now let's talk about something more important. Is practically my comment that I wrote that pissed off people a couple of weeks ago. And let's get to it. So practically I wrote that I wrote it as a response to somebody. That's MSRP, even if it is real. First off, I work in the marketing department for a company that in the medical field. We are producing intracolumnar lenses. I'm not going to name the company for my sake. Not the GPU pricing. Board partners will price the 9070 XT most likely only 10 to 20% cheaper than the Nvidia counterpart. There's multiple reasons for that. Board partners juggle partnership with both Nvidia and AMD. Nvidia has such huge market share. For them, it is beneficial to pump billions in lobbying to board partners to keep prices high for any competitor, aka to make them price AMD not far from Nvidia counterparts. Now, I know this is a little far-fetched, but it's actually not. Most of the video cards in the world that are sold are Nvidia, so board partners that work with Nvidia and AMD are gonna be afraid to piss off Nvidia, so they need to, and they're not just afraid, they also want to make more profit. So the fact that Nvidia has the push on them, that's a real strategy. It's not illegal. It's not illegal anywhere in this world. So let's keep going on. Not only that, if board use deals with Nvidia itself can choke out, limit how much share they give to a specific board partner, and reallocate resources to another compliant board partner. We have seen similar trouble with EVGA, so EVGA decided to quit. Anyway, I'm not gonna go into those details right now. Welcome. That's why we don't have EVGA video cards anymore. The misunderstandings and the arguments they had in between Nvidia and them. Okay, let's go on. Welcome to capitalism. That's what I wrote. But why would Nvidia want to keep prices artificially high, even for themselves, when it is not them that see board partners profit? Correct. So, and as we discussed above, Nvidia prices directly affect AMD prices. I'm glad you asked. This also was a multi-point reason issue. Point one, it helps Nvidia price adjust to new tariffs. Funny, isn't it? We just had that issue, Trump tariffs, without raising overall market prices way too much and causing more backlash. Point two, helps Nvidia to adjust to shortages, charging more to board partners and not have a news backlash leading to their market share plummeting overnight. Point three, they can create artificial shortages, making the card look more desirable. So when they can lower price brackets after market stabilizes for a year or so, after multiple professional sales analysis, obviously, and at that point, Nvidia will have plus GPUs ready for that influx of sales, obviously. PS, Nvidia sells way more cards than AMD, so more careful with sourcing and pricing. Point 4. They are targeting AI developers, not gamers. They can jack prices to the moon and back. They don't really want to use resources on gamers that can take away from their AI derived profits, which at this point is vast majority of their margin. So that is why Nvidia will keep prices high. Now back to AMD board partners will keep their prices much higher than MSRP. And we are talking about board partners specifically. Third reason for them, for AMD, would be board partners don't want to compete with their own Nvidia designs. Again, Nvidia outsells AMD by a massive margin that cannot be overlooked no matter who. Her standings with Nvidia would have a board partner and their own design and its sales. Okay, I hear you, but what about strictly AMD board partners? Well, once these uniquely AMD board partners see that every other board partner prices their product at a certain level, these only AMD board partners will just give maybe 10 to 15% lower price. Why would they go lower? They will still sell the most, and people won't stop playing games. But don't forget, sadly, corporate greed is real. They will likely achieve these good prices by putting lower quality components and not a lot or little overclock. And also that's gonna make sure that because of that it's gonna cost less on R&D spending, and R&D, as we know, can cost a lot. Fourth reason, sadly, there are also laws on predatory market behavior and anti-monopoly laws in place, so they can't deviate a lot from other board partners, meaning one board partner cannot outprice with their average lowest price another board partner. There is actual laws for that, but okay. As I'm stating here, they will be sued. Special cards, aka not base clock, and different cooler design cards. After these board partners already set the base card price, of course, can go a lot higher in like liquid cooled cards, overclock cards, etc. Nobody prohibits raising prices, only undercutting competitors by a significant greater margin than the legal limit or for gaining market share by predatory monopoly tactics/practices are the issue. Anyway, fifth reason, both Nvidia and AMD want to limit sales. Initially, it is a limit numbers and maximize profit on each sale game. Most companies do that due to the possible R&D issues and recalls on their own products. This way they can sort things out with the extra money they made on each card, just to break even rather than losing significant capital. And the correction and recall won't be astronomical. It won't be astronomical because of the choice in the initial stages of the video card due to the high price bracket and limited numbers of availability. But you could say, why would they want to limit numbers? No sense. We already talked about that earlier. That's called creating false demand. Okay. Sixth reason, if there is a supply chain breakdown, the limited sales due to prices will give them a time for that would help them avoid a bad press on a quarterly news release, again negatively affecting stock holdings and market behavior. Seventh reason, board partners don't know how the card is going to sell initially. If it sells fast, well, think to yourself, then it sells out regardless the price. If it sells too fast, they will keep running out of product, making the company looking company. No stocks, right? If they expand too fast to counter that, but sales die down later, they will have to do massive layoffs and will have an unused facility on their hands. all of these will crush their securities on the market. So they would be stupid to lower the price. And watch, initially they will sell like hotcakes, even at a massive premium, just like they did all the time. Manufacturers always start high, not low, then adjust for demand as if needed, within legal boundaries, of course. Lastly, why are their stock market so important, both AMD and Nvidia? Simple. Most direct investors, board partners, suppliers, distributors look at that info first to decide to start or continue with a specific company. I'd say if the actual price on the real market of the RTX 5070 Ti will be 1,000 to 1,100, I don't see the 9070 XT being cheaper than, let's say, $750 to $920 on the actual real world market. That's an educated guess, by the way, but it seems accurate so far of what we have seen. And sorry for disappointing anyone. And this doesn't include the price hikes that could happen to scalpers. That's pretty much it. Stay safe, everyone, and I hope you guys can get your hands on a beautiful video card and keep gaming. Thank you.